Hello everyone, today we'll be talking about the effect of gravity on space travel. So our topic is effect of so let's begin with it. So to start with, we will divide the thing into three parts. So one is first on space so we will divide it into three parts. Number one, ascending. Number two, microgravity. And number three, and we will learn the physiology of the astronauts during the three times. So starting with ascending. So we have to understand a thing that when astronaut starts his journey, he faces an enormous force, and in this that is he faces a downward g force, extra g force. So the first point is it can be up to 4 g force. That is it is 4 times the normal g forces, and it is very strenuous experience, and several functions of the body is hampered during this time. So first we have to think that the venous pool by the distal veins of the body, like the leg veins, will work enormously. So there will be a huge venous pool. So you increase venous pool of leg vein. As a result, what will happen? Decrease venous return. What will happen for that? Decrease cardiac output. As you know, venous cardiac output is directly proportional to venous return. And another huge impact will be that there will be decreased blood flow to brain, and that will lead to what? That will lead to whiteout. Or let's say, because whiteout will be used in another place, blackout. Also, there will be decreased blood flow to retina. So what will happen? Color vision lost. This will lead to gray out. Okay, so that's are the points that will the astronaut face during ascending. And what are the remedies taken? There's remedies. So for remedies, the astronauts wears special suits that increases venous return. Basically, they wear such suits that pressurizes the leg veins. These are special type of shocks, and for that the vein can pump easily to the lung. Now, come to the second part. So this is microgravity. So this is the microgravity, or we can say gravity free condition. So what happens in gravity free condition? There is no force, no g force. The body basically floats. So no g. So this will be no g force. So what will happen? There will be several findings. So first comes this one, that you can name it redistribution blood flow. What will happen when there is G force acting in our body? What happens that the bloods in our head comes to heart mainly because of G forces. That is for gravity, and for blood from the legs, yeah, we have to pull the blood to the gravity to the heart against gravity. So we have better mechanisms like muscle pump or that we say. Vena that two arteries, there are always the main veins are always in between two arteries. So these type of mechanisms are there for lower parts, but because we have to pull the blood from lower down from the lower half of the body against the gravity. But what happens in the upper part? There is no such developed mechanism. So when so they are not accompanied with that. So as the G forces are withdrawn from them, what happens? The blood can't come to the heart properly. As a result, the the blood in the blood stays. The blood like ceases, becomes stagnant in this area. As a result, what happens? First, interstitial more fluid in veins, which increases the colloidal pressure, or and which further increases what? Interstitial fluid amount. So we see what? We can see that bloated faces. So we can see red faces of the astronaut that seems to be the filled with blood. So these are number one. Again, what happens? This is for the redistribution of the blood in the upper part. What happens to the lower part of the body? So normally the body has to work very hard to pump his blood from the lower part to the heart. So when the gravity is withdrawn, what happens? The blood can easily come to the heart. As a result, a huge amount of venous return increases. So what can we see? We can point it as a let's say, just write it, increase venous return. So and what happens that when the venous return increases enormously, it increases so much so that it causes arterial stretch. And due to the arterial stretch, we know what? At first, what will happen? Due to what will happen? The pressure, blood pressure, blood volume, all will increase. No, blood volume will not increase, but a mean circulating blood volume will increase. And when the arterial stress will happen, what will happen? We know ANP will be secreted in enormous amount from the arterial wall. What will at ANP do? It will reduce the ADH effect of the body. So what will happen when the ADH will fall in the body? It will increase Na plus and water excretion. So it is doing that? It is pumping out water and Na plus from the body. As a result, what will happen? Low plasma volume. Remind it that plasma volume is low, but the MSVP mean MSPV mean circulating plasma volume is increasing due to increased venous return, increased pumping effect, decrease effect of gravity. Okay, so plasma volume is decreasing, but mean circulating plasma volume is increasing, as well as the bloods in the upper half of the body increases. As a result, bloated faces, this type of effect are occurring. Also, what is happening? See, one is plasma volume is decreasing, and also sodium concentration, low sodium concentration, decreased sodium concentration. These types of functions are also happening. Okay, now come to the third part. When there is no G force, so there is no need of highly developed muscles of extensor group or flexor group, which binds our body from the effect of G. So what happens? The muscle which usually act against the G deteriorates due to lack of the use. So what happens? Muscle mass decrease muscle mass. Same things happens in case of bone. What happens? Decrease bone mass. Okay. Again, another thing is that we have our vestibular system or internal ear has vestibular system which are well acquainted with 1G gravity, but when the gravity is disturbed, so they function abnormally. So it is temporary. It is also a temporary because they recalibrate themselves after some time. So during initial 4 days, what happens? Motion sickness occurs. The nausea or this type of symptoms can be seen in these cases. So motion sickness occurs. So these are the and another thing is we have seen bone mass decreases, muscle mass decreases. Another very important effect is tone tone of the vessels, or we can say veins of the leg veins. Tone of the leg vein decreases because there is initial tone to cope up the gravity, but when gravity is withdrawn, the tone have of no use. So what they causes, they start relaxing. So when a person resides in 0G for many time for a long time, so what happens, the tone starts decreasing, and this has some effect. That is, when he comes to earth again, that means in 1G again, what happens, the veins cannot pump the blood sufficiently. As a result, what happens, several problems occurs. So we can write here decrease vein, or we can say it decrease leg vein tone. Again, okay, that is done. Now here we need something that is a remedy. So what can we do to counteract this? So first of all, there is decrease sodium content of the body, water content. So increase sodium intake, increase water intake. What is the problem with it? That urination frequency increases. That's a disturbing thing about this. Okay, so this is one thing. Second, increase intense exercise. So what happens when we do exercise? So we have to understand it in two different ways. That is, for exercise, what exercise do, that it maintains muscle mass. For maintaining muscle mass, number one. Number two, bone mass, because to avoid the misuse deterioration. Okay, so this is one thing. Now the second thing is, why intense? That is short duration intense exercise. Because intense, when we will exercise intensely, then what will happen? Increase cortisol level of the body will increase. So that will cause what? That will cause increase plasma albumin. Intense exercise increases plasma albumin. What plasma albumin does? Plasma albumin increases plasma volume and oncotic pressure. Okay, and a final thing is, to cope up with the and other diverse effects, we can establish artificial gravity via centrifugation or any other magnetic levitating or any other processes. We can feel the artificial gravity that will cope up the situation. So these are the adverse effects and what we can do to cope up with these are the things. Now come to the third part. So what is it? So it is the descending. So what happens descending? So if we come to there, so this is all descending. For descending, as we have said, in the ascending, the body faces a downward g-force. So for descending, what happens? The body faces a upward g-force. Or what can we say? Negative g-force. So when a negative g-force acts on our body, so the blood from the lower part of the body rushes to the upper part. So what happens? increase blood flow to head region, head brain region, retina, also heart. So when there is increased blood flow at a time, the blood is when increases blood flow increases, this is beneficial initially, but when the blood flow increases enormously, what it does is it increases the pressure locally, and the small vessels present in these delicate places can easily rupture in this high pressure. So during the increased blood flow, some vessels can rupture. What will when the vessel will rupture, it can start hemorrhage, micro hemorrhage. So when microhemorrhage can occur in any place of the brain, so this can lead to increased possibility of brain stroke. Again, increased blood flow to the retina sometimes may cause the rupture of the artery supplying the areas of the retina. So the images from there will not be visible. Again, what happens that the arteries, we know the vein, we know the optic nerve, which the artery passes inside the optic nerve. When the enormous amount of blood passes through these areas, what happens that the blood pressurizes the surrounding nerves. So the number one, the hemorrhagic blood can blur the image. Number two, the pressure due to the increased blood flow can cause blurred images of the our both eyes. So what can happen? We can call this situation as readout. So we can so what happens due to this increased blood, that is readout. We can see brain stroke when the case goes beyond abnormal, or even microhemorrhage is a very important problem. So what for remedy purpose we are not writing it. For remedy purpose we have to make certain that the G force, upward negative G force, should be within a limit. So for limiting this we have to use various other technical things. The special suits can eliminate some amount of G force and hence can save us from the deleterious effects of the G force. So these are the physiological basis of the astronauts, or the problems faced by astronauts, we can say. So for a quick recap, I can say that space travel is not a matter of joke. Obviously, we have actually the human species is meant for Earth only. When we goes beyond the Earth, the problems comes on and on. During ascending, we can see several problems: decreased cardiac output, low blood flow, blackout, dreyout, and when we are staying in a microgravity, there is enormous amount of problems like bloated fascias, low plasma volume, low leg vein tone, motion sickness. Again, when we come back to Earth, due to negative G force, there are read out chances of brain stroke, microhemorrhage. These are the chances. So we have to use up our suits according to it, and have to maintain other things. And exercise in the microgravity is a very crucial thing, and also a very painful thing which requires strong motivation. So these are the things. Thank you for hearing. Please like and share, subscribe for getting such good contents. Thank you.